So here I'm taking the jerky that I made on the last video, and we're going to turn it into pemmican. It was just too difficult for me to eat with my dentures, and I did it a little too long, dried it out a little too much. So that's why we're doing this. Now you can see I'm starting off just trying to rip it apart, and I realized fairly quickly that that's probably not the best way to do it. But I have another little thing up my sleeve that we'll show you shortly here. So I'll basically just start off, pulse it a few times until it starts to get broken up a bit, and then you can just put it on high and just let it go until the meat has been basically powdered. It's not going to like really turn into powder, but it'll get fairly soft, or sorry, it'll get fairly small, and that's the consistency you want for this pemmican. Now, something I haven't told you is that on the stove, I've been melting down in a double boiler a big bowl of tallow. So that's what we're going to be using with this, is tallow. So I'm going to do some cuts and fast forward a bit through stuff. But you can see I got my giant meat cleaver. A friend of mine found that for me. And it's a heavy beast, and it does the job. It takes me a little bit to figure out just how hard I got to hit it. And I got to give a shout out to the people we got this cutting board from. I mean, I beat on it with this thing, and it did an absolutely amazing job. I mean, you can tell I used it there, but it stands up very well. And we're really happy with this big cutting board we got from a local supplier that makes them. No, we'll just finish chopping this up and grinding it up. That piece that you saw go flying onto the floor there, that didn't get reused. It didn't get added. So be rest assured of that. So I'm just going to keep repeating the process until we're all done. And then we'll do the next thing. Now, I absolutely love this Ninja blender. It breaks stuff up better than just about any blender I've ever seen, with those extra blades around the side. And it's so easy to pull stuff apart, empty it out, put it back together. You can see I started to forget to put the blades back in there, but I figured that out eventually. So here we've got just all the ground up meat. There was a little piece that didn't get ground up in there. That happens sometimes. So we're just going to even this out. So I'm just being very careful to make sure it's very evenly spread, that it's the same depth all around, and kind of pat it down flat. And then when we pour the liquid tallow into it, we're not going to cover it. Okay, we're going to bring it up so that it looks like it's starting to soak into most of it, and there's still some left dry. And then you want to mix it all together. You don't want it laying on top. The last batch of pemmican I made, I brought it right up to the top across the board, and then it was just too much fat sitting on the top. So you can see I left a fair amount where there was nothing. So it took me a bit to figure out just how to get it all mixed. And in a moment here, I had to do a little bit of maintenance, so to speak, or fixing, because the oil was kind of collecting out in the corners. So once I got it leveled out, I had to take the spoon and just drag those corners in and kind of flip them around and stir them in so that all the tallow is distributed evenly and it's soaked into the meat. Now, something I forgot to do in the tallow, I could have added a bunch of salt, and it just completely slipped my mind. I totally forgot. And I didn't think to do it until just before I do the initial scoring. So when this goes in the fridge, it's only going to go in the fridge for about 15-20 minutes to set. And then it comes back out, and I'm going to take a knife and score it. And that makes it a lot easier to dig out and break up later. So here you can see I've already put the salt on. So I put a nice little coating of Redmond real salt, and then Malden's smoked finishing flakes. So what you're seeing on top actually isn't the fat. There was no fat sitting on it when it came out of the fridge. That's just the salt that you're seeing on it. Now normally I would mix it into the tallow so that it goes all the way through, but I spaced on that. So I had to do it this way. And it should be fine. Last time I didn't have enough salt on it, and I just sprinkled it on top as I ate it. So I figured this would work. This will soak in a little bit by the time it sets up. So it's going to go back in the fridge for a couple of hours until it gets really kind of set up. And then the next thing we're going to do is transfer it to the freezer, and we're going to leave it in there for a couple of hours. And by doing it in that particular process, it makes it a lot easier to pop out at the end. So here you can see it's come out of the freezer. Now I just have to go and kind of work along a couple of the lines so I can get 1 or 2 pieces out, and then I can just get under the rest and break it all apart. So you'll see how I do that here. So I definitely had a lot more fun doing this batch. It came out a lot better than the previous batch I tried to do. And keep in mind, when I made that beef jerky that this is ground up from, that wasn't pre-cooked. So the only cooking that it got was when we dehydrated it at 150 degrees Fahrenheit for like 9.5 hours. So that's not really something you gotta be concerned with. So here, now that I've got those couple of pieces out, now I can just go in, scoop stuff up, break it apart. I'll give you a close up here of what it looks like. No, you can see there's no fat sitting on there, and that's what we want. So we're just gonna stack them in the bowl. Now last time I did this, I separated them with parchment paper, and then after a couple of months sitting in the fridge, because this will keep for like a year, it started molding on the paper. So that's why I'm using foil this time, and I certainly don't want to use plastic. So, I mean, I still use a little bit of plastic here and there in my life. It's pretty hard to get away from it completely, but I certainly minimize it. Like these dishes are glass. They've got plastic tops, but the plastic doesn't touch the food. So you don't have to worry about the microplastics there. So now you can see I've got the foil out. So we're just going to separate each layer. And we'll get them all stacked in there. Probably could have used a little less tin foil, but hey, I was on camera trying to get stuff done, so I wasn't too finicky. So give this a try. I think you'll like it, and it's a beautiful little backup snack, and it's very filling. One of those squares usually fills me. Occasionally I need another half of one, but that's about it. So enjoy.